20 meters. Welcome, everybody, to the YCARS August. I can't believe it's August, end of August already, presentation. Today we have a special guest with us all the way from the left coast of America in sunny California. We've got Chuck, KK6USY from Ham Radio Ventures, and he's part of the Ham Radio and our Coffee and Ham Radio's crew. Chuck, I've known him for a couple years now and spent some time with him at a couple of Ham Fests. Chuck is a former firefighter and a backyard engineer who can about build anything when it comes to amateur radio. So without further ado, Chuck, radios. You can take it away, brother.
I don't build radios.
Well, you don't build radios.
I wish I could. Nobody builds radios anymore, hardly. Huh?
But you do some amazing stuff, brother.
Well, hello, everybody. So I just part of my I've been a ham, just turned 10 years, I guess, last month. And I've been lucky to have had some really good, more or less online people that have helped me with along and then encouraged me and stuff like that. And Gary, he's up in Indianapolis, and I met him on basically it was a CB and ham site, which for change actually all kind of got along most of the time. But and I'm going to talk about 3D printing. It's something that I was very intimidated with for a long time because I am not a computer person, and that's the part that intimidated me. But I found out that it's really not that hard. You don't even have to be able to make your own projects. You can, if you can think how to look for it in a couple of places, you can pretty much everything's out there for you. And you just got to plug it into your computer. They use an STL, which is what tells the printer and how to print it out for you. And like I said, I'm no expert at this. I'm fairly new at it. The guys, when I bought a Creality the first time, and that was one of the ones you had to build, and it took me like half an hour. And the guys were like, "You're already up and running?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good at the building part. I don't know if anything else is going to work." So that's how that went. I've got a little slideshow. My buddy, the Smoking Ape, is trying to get me to do more stuff like that. And so I will share this with you guys, and then I got to figure out how to get to it. So you guys can see that now? Well, it's not there yet, I guess. Is that up now?
Yeah, it's up, Chuck. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see
So
it.
basically, okay. Okay, yeah, this is where I need to be. Good. So 3D printing is what I found out. 3D printing is really good for ham radio. It may not be the last thing you do with it, but it's really good for prototyping, and I'll actually use it for. I did a Moxon one time, and I wanted to get all my holes and everything really good. And by doing that in a CAD system, you can make it pretty exacting, depending on how good you are with the CAD system. I mean, I'm still learning that. So we'll go down to the next one. So, like I said, I kind of did some of this already. I've been 3D printing for me has been about 3 or 4 years now, and I'm on my third printer. And one of the things they don't tell you about printing is that it takes way longer than you think it's going to take. And my first printer was not very fast. My second printer was not very fast. My new one is pretty fast, and I have to tell you, it makes a difference, especially if you are prototyping. And there's ways of getting around. You can do less infill and stuff like that to make it faster when you're just trying to get your parts. I'm getting to where 1 or 2 tries, and I'm pretty close most of the time. But then I always find something that's different. But so we're going to cover slicers, CADs, a CAD system. I want to show you a little. We're going to go into Tinkercad, and I'll have to narrate because for some reason I can't get the sound to work. But there's not much to it. Just kind of show you how to make a simple box, and then kind of how FDM printing. FDM is basically it's the type that uses there's different types of printing, but FDM is the one that looks like weed whacker line. Basically, is the way I tell people, and just melts it and then it builds. and we'll talk about different types of filament, which types of filament are good for. I use PETG almost because you have to have certain machines to do certain ones have to be enclosed. And PETG it doesn't need to be in a closed unit, and it prints really good. And it's plenty good enough for what we want in the field and stuff for outside. And then we'll talk a little bit about types, but so the basics you need a slicer. And basically, the slicer converts a 3D model into a G code, and then it's usually called an STL. And the slicer basically slices the print into layers, and so it builds your layers from the bottom up. And if you ever watched, a lot of times watch some of these guys that do a lot of 3D printing YouTube channels, they'll always show one that's being built up, and it looks pretty cool how it grows. Now, Cura was probably one of the first ones out, and Orca Slicer and Bamboo Studio and Prusa Slicer are all kind of offshoots of Cura. And I think Prusa actually improved a lot of things, and then the Orca came out, and Orca is kind of like Bamboo Studio. They're basically almost the same, and I think the new Prusa is also kind of the same. They've uh, they've gone a long ways from Cura on what things you can do with your printers and stuff. And I'll try to show you some stuff that I learned on just making things look a little bit better. Now, some good entry level 3D printers. Bamboo Lab is they kind of set the bar for a while here, and other companies are starting to catch up. But actually, Prusa was really good also, but really expensive. And you used to be able to buy the A1 Mini, for about $300. I think it's $350 now, so not very expensive. And that A1 Mini, when you pull it out of the box, it's pretty much ready to print. No, I've got the A1 now. That one you actually do have to do a little bit of building. It takes you about 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. And then Illigu, Neptune Pro 4, budget friendly and large. But that has I don't really know this one very well, but it was in my list here, and it says it's very large. That's the other thing too is speed and size. The A1 Mini is really small, but most people don't print things very big that are very big, and it could be all you need. If nothing else, it's a real easy one to get you into it. Now, Creality Ender 3s, this is my first one, was an Ender 3. I put this in here. It's entry level, but for what you can get at Bamboo, I wouldn't personally I wouldn't buy another Ender. At least not the Ender 3. But they're on version 3. I mean, it just keeps going. Prusa. Prusa makes the Mini about the same size as the A1 Mini, and Prusa stuff is really really good, high quality. It says beginner friendly and excellent documentation. I forget the guy's name, but they're really good. They're really really compared to some of the new stuff. They're pretty expensive though, but you get a good unit, and all the parts are really good. Anycubic Cobra 2. Excuse me. That one's, I think that just came out a while ago. Fast printing again, because you have bed slingers, which is what I have, and then you have what's the other one, XY, and the XYs are way faster. And then there's another one that it basically like almost looks like it just dangles from the top, and I forget the brand, what type those are, but they're pretty fast also. They were fast before the XYs were out. So lots of choices out there now. A lot of good choices that are they really it's one of those things that really hasn't gone up in price. Features you want to look for. Believe me, with my first my first one, you were dialing these little things on the bottom of the build plate to get them level. Find one with automatic bed leveling, and make sure it's not an average. I bought one Flash Forge. Flash Forge makes some nice rigs too. I should have had those in there too. Their build plates are a little on the small side, but bigger than a mini. Okay. But the one I had, uh, it did automatic bed leveling, but it was an averaging thing. It wasn't really checking the whole bed. So it didn't do the greatest job. When you got it right, it printed really nice. And then I've got build volume up here. So that's your plate size, 256 by 256 by 256. That's millimeters. I think it's millimeters, and that's pretty average size. The flash fours were like 220 by 220, so they were just a little bit smaller.
Yes, that's
And
just
then
a
you
little
want to
over
look,
10 inches square.
yeah, yeah. So then print speed. Now all the XYs now are way fast. Somehow Bamboo Lab has gotten the bed slingers to print fast. Mine's 3 times as fast as my old ones, and almost as fast as an XY type. The XY, what it does is the bed doesn't move; it moves up and down, and the head moves. Where mine, the bed moves back and forth along with the nozzle, so you have two motions versus basically just one motion. And then what I have for filament compatibility, if you're going to do ABS, you're going to do a couple of the other ones. You have to have a heated chamber. It needs heat. ABS is really kind of hard to print. I really had a hard time with it, and I was able to do on my old Creality by putting a box over it and enclosing it, and that wasn't the best thing because now you're overheating parts that aren't supposed to be overheated. Um, but it worked. I was able to print a few things that way. So outdoor considerations. So as hams and stuff, a lot of our stuff goes outside. Now if you're printing stuff inside, it doesn't make that much difference what you print it in. But for outside, you want something that's has durability, UV and water, and heat resistance. And sometimes you can. I've never done this, but I've heard of people like putting like spray paint, UV spray paint, or something like that over it to protect it. The problems I've seen with like PLA, I've done like winders in those. They sit in your car with wire wound around it, and they end up bending the direction the wire pulls on it. So even if you paint that, that's not going to take care of that problem. So it's not just the UV; it's a heat also. If anybody has questions, go ahead. I'm going through these kind of fast for you, but so let's look at filament types. So PLA, everybody who does PLA, if you're doing it for inside, it's perfectly fine. It prints really easy. Um, and one of the things, okay, I'm just going to add this because I didn't think of this earlier, but one of the things you might want to add to your printer is a dryer because I have noticed that since I started drying stuff, my prints come out better because the worst thing is moisture when you're trying to print it. So, but for PETG is what I print almost everything in now. My printer does PETG really well, and it's strong. It's outdoor capable. It does have a little bend to it. Like PLA is a little stiffer, and we'll talk about a couple of the things I printed that have what they call a living hinge, and the PETG is really good for that because it is a little bit pliable. ASA is probably your one of your best UV resistant and outdoor long term type deals. Um, but it needs a heated chamber, and because it needs to be, but they are changing a few things. Bamboo Labs they've come out with cold plates, and I haven't tried one yet, and I think that might the cold plates basically it drops your temperatures down, so you might be able to actually print ASA and it may be ABS on a cold plate where it doesn't need as much temperature. I don't quite understand like I said, I'm not an expert at these. Now, nylon, carbon fiber, I'm not a big carbon fiber can create problems also, but nylon is really good. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Coffee and Ham radios, our winders. I'll show one to you later, but I don't know if I guess you guys can see me, but this is nylon, and they call this 12, something SP12 or something. This is a different process though. This is multi-jet fusion. It's a powder that they fuse together. It's 100% infill. We'll talk about infill a little bit too. Um, when we go
Hey
through that, I
Chuck, with
think,
those ASA and carbon fiber and the nylons, those
Hmm.
all are toxic, so you have to have an enclosed printer for those, correct?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I think they recommend a vent outside too for
Yeah, a lot
to
of them
cool
have, a lot
down.
of new machines have filters now. It's supposed to filter that out, but you might be. I tell you the truth, I was a firefighter, so I don't know. I just don't can't smell anymore. But I never smelled anything in my when I was doing ASA or I print a lot of ASA on my old machine, but it was enclosed, so that's probably why. But the and when you do like nylon and carbon fiber, you need to upgrade your nozzles, and they need to be a hardened nozzle. I think for the nylon also. So that's a consideration too. And all the different places, all the different makers have all that stuff that you can upgrade. So some of the applications, insulators for your antennas, wire winders for your antennas. Like if you're doing a doublet, I don't know if you guys, I run a doublet at home, but like element spacers for your to separate your you do the what is it, 650 ohm or something they do when they go wider. You could do like Ballon boxes and little match boxes. I've done boxes and stuff before. I'll show you a few of those today. I do a lot of I'll print a lot of things for mass, like guy rings and stuff like that. You have to be careful with that. My new printer seems to print really, really strong, but I wouldn't always, if you're putting something up really big, I would go to something better than printing sometimes. I don't trust it for everything. And then if you just your non-conductive mounts and stuff like that, you can print stuff up. And the sky's the limit. Whatever you can think of, your printer can probably print it as long as you can figure out how to draw it up, right? And well, I'll show you a little CAD system. I use Tinkercad mostly because it just makes sense to me. I tried 360 and I ended up with a headache that night because I don't know. I need somebody to show me how to use that one. So for shack organization, cable management, you can make stuff to do that. Microphone hangers, custom. I've made knobs before for Dennis from Denko Batteries. He wanted some knobs for one of his radios, and he goes, "Here's the thing. Can you print this for me?" And then go box it. Inserts and stuff you can do. There's a there's a lot of stuff that guys are doing organizational things now. It's like you print out all these little plates and you can put stuff that attaches to it. Pretty neat. It's all time though. Like I said, it takes longer than you would think. I thought things would print way faster than they do, but it depends. And that's why I would say if you're buying a machine these days, buy the XY or at least the bed slingers from like Bamboo. And they're not sponsored or anything like that. They're fast. I don't know why they're so fast. Labeling tools and call sign plates. You guys have seen all those things for sale. Um, you can get the clear type filaments, the translucent ones. I like those a lot of times. In fact, this green on this is translucent. And I mean, you can print so you can almost see through stuff, but you have to slow it down so much, it's not worth doing. So online sources for models that are already done up, Thingiverse is really good. Printables. I've never I Googled this. It's Colts 3D. I don't know that one. But Bamboo Lab also has their own one now. I can never remember the name of it. It comes up on my when I because when I that's what I use, so it comes up for
Maker
me. But
World,
what is it again? Maker World. Yeah,
Maker World,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. There's everything on that.
All those, yeah. I mean, actually, I didn't know about printables for a long time, and there's a lot of stuff on that. I think printables might be, especially for ham stuff, might be one of the better ones. But a lot of times they cross over. If you find it in printables, it's in Thingiverse, it's in Maker World. You can also, and I've done this before, where I found somebody's design that isn't exactly what I want, but it gives me a starting point. You can't always there's ways of getting it. Depends on what they give you. Um, as far as how you can get into it. So, some files you can get into and you can manipulate them. Some you can't. But if nothing else, you can use it for sizing and stuff like that. Um, So if designing from scratch, Tinkercad, FreeCAD, Fusion 360 is really, really popular. And there's other ones out there. Um, and some of them are free. I use Tinkercad, it's free. Um, Fusion 360 is free as long as you're doing it for your own stuff, basically. So, and Fusion 360, if you can figure it out, and I'll show you what I do. I cheat. I build it in Tinkercad and I take it to Fusion and make it look better. So this is something I was talking about earlier, strength versus speed, um, and walls versus infill. Everybody, when you first start out, you think infill is the way to get things to make them strong. It's actually walls, and that's your outer walls. And what I've found, infill is part of it too, but and there's some new infills now. If you're in the bamboo stuff, the very bottom one, and I forget what it's called, but that's the one I use. It almost looks like you've doubled your infill, but you're not. It doesn't add a lot of time. But what I found out with walls is sometimes you can add walls and sometimes it actually speeds it up and makes it stronger. If you're doing anything that you think you might have to drill out later, add extra walls because now you're not drilling into your infill, if that makes sense to you guys. Just a few things I've learned. Like I said, I'm no expert at this stuff. If you design stuff, if you do get into design stuff, try to make it, there's ways of making things print faster and make things assemble better. So I watch videos on just on that kind of stuff sometimes on YouTube just to find out how to. I watch this couple guys that tell you how to make your stuff stronger. We'll talk about fillets later, which is something that can make things stronger. Layer adhesion. I don't use anything on my bamboo. I used to use it all the time. I used to use hairspray. Aquanet is really good, and it's not as messy as I think people go. Oh, that's really messy. And I think glue stick is way messier. But with PETG and I got the flexible bed that's magnetic. I don't have any problem with sticking usually. If I do, it means I've touched the board and got grease on it or something from your hands. So cleaning your surface is a good thing all the time. I don't do it when I do my stuff for like my stuff that I'm going to sell or something like that, like CW keys and stuff. I'll clean it before I start printing stuff like that because I'll print multiple ones and that's when I usually have an adhesion problem is when you get out from the middle sometimes. And if you do have like I know bamboo has you can do self-leveling. You can do the self-leveling all the time, but there's also another one if you go into the menu that levels the whole it goes from like 9 points to like 50 points. And it does help. Um like when you're printing stuff in your projects, say if you're building antennas, like wire winders, you can do different colors for each. Like maybe this one's for 20 and one's for 10 or something like that. That's a nice thing about the FDM stuff is there's a ton of colors out there in all the different types of filaments that you can get. I was going to show you guys stuff, and I will show you stuff. So this one really doesn't mean anything. So, oops. So printer cost. I was telling you like 350 up, sometimes $200 for printers. But the bamboos, like I said, were pretty cheap. And some of the other companies, even Flashforge, their stuff it tests really well, and it's it was cost effective as far as price. It was a little cheaper than some of the other ones out there. Filament, 15 to $25 and up, depending on what you're printing. I think James has printed before. If you get into stuff like carbon fiber and all those, there's PETG and there's a new, I can't remember it's like PETG, but it's stronger. It's
And
10
they're
to
called
$15.
Plus or something like that. It looks pretty interesting. I don't think Bamboo sells it on their site though.
No,
That's
it's
cost per
one comp.
kilogram, right?
It's um
It's a
that's
2 kilogram
a
wheel is
two
usually
gallon.
about
Yeah,
$20
Okay.
if it's just
yeah.
PLA.
This stuff here that I was printing, I bought it to do my first ones. It was $20, and then the next time I bought it, it was $15. So, and it prints pretty well. Um, and your print times for typical parts is just sometimes it surprises me how fast it'll print. Sometimes if you do, especially off of the bamboo thing, if you use somebody else's um, something they post up there, sometimes they've got it optimized for faster speeds and stuff. Because every once in a while I print stuff is like, man, that thing should not have printed that fast. Not that often though. I've got a couple videos. So the key takeaways, 3D printing can be really good, low cost. I mean, something like this thing costs you less than $1 to print in material. For the material, you do have other costs for heating and power and stuff like that. So there is another cost there, but you can do so many things with it. I the coffee and ham radio guys get mad at me because I'm like, here, check this out. That's something I've come up with, and so yeah, there's just so many different things you can do. I'm going to let me. I'm going to stop this one. I'm going to find another one here, and I'll probably have to narrate. For some reason, we couldn't get the sound to work. So
Yeah, I did something wrong. I don't know what happened
it's
with me.
not you. It's just there's something when you try to share stuff. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's just not. There we go. So let me find it. Here we go. Did that show up yet?
Yeah, it's running.
It's running. It's not running yet. Good. So I'm gonna kind of this is Tinkercad, and then it'll eventually phase into Fusion 360, and I'll try to keep up with. I've got it all narrated, but it's not going to come through. So basically, so we're going to make a simple box. So you pull that out there, and these are just figures that are already made. So we'll make it 40 millimeters by 40 millimeters. So this is a takeaway, basically. So we're going to make it 4 millimeters less than the box. So we have 2 millimeter walls, the sides, and then we're going to lift it. You'll see when we hit the arrow in a second here. So we're going to lift it up 2 millimeters. So and then we'll drag it over. We're going to center it. Just the align button. Center, center. We don't do the up and down because it'll stick it in between. It'll give it a hole in the bottom, not the 2 millimeters. So now we grouped it. So now I'm going to export it to Fusion 360, and that's when you hit the export button, it'll come up if where you how you want to export it, and we'll show you that in just a second. So Autodesk Fusion, we're going to hit the Sim Design History. That way you can manipulate what you're building, and we send it. And it takes a little while, and I couldn't do this the day I was trying to do it, but so now we're going to do a fillet. I don't know if you guys can see all the parts, but I'll grab a fillet. So I'm going to pick the outside corners right now. Now I'm just turning it so I can get that last corner. I'm going to start with 2 millimeter fillet, which is a round over. So there's 2. I'm going to go to 3, or actually I'm going to go to 4, but it's too much. If you see the corners, there's nothing left. So I go back to 2, and you hit enter to make it stay. So now I'm going to take it. Remember I told you fillets can make things stronger. So we're going to go in and we're going to go to the inside. I think this worked the same way. First, I'm going to take just the bottom, which does all four edges, and you see how it fillets, gives it like a little contour at the bottom there. But I'm going to go out and I'm going to do it the way I usually do it, which is slower, I'm sure. So now I'm picking each one. You can actually go through the sides when you can tell what you're grabbing. We'll do 2 millimeter again, and you can see it inside there. So that strengthens all those walls. That's like putting a gusset. Now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to round the inside edges. I don't like the way Fusion 360 moves because you see how it goes like totally a different place. It stays in that in the same middle, whereas Tinkercad you can just spin it. Now watch when I do the 2 millimeter this time, you'll see that the inside actually gets more meat to it. So if you're making a box with a top, don't round the tops, but we're going to round the bottom here so it looks like, it just gives it a more aesthetic look. So we're going to do 3 millimeters. And that took us 4 minutes, 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes to build a little box. And you can make a top for it just by doing what we just did. You can make a top for it too. Okay. I'm gonna make sure I don't hit the wrong button here. I'm gonna stop sharing. Now I've also got a video of different things that I've printed. I was gonna do overhead, but I didn't have I need another HDMI. And I thought I had one for my other camera. But let me find that one. Hang on just a second here.
Chuck, that's the quickest I've seen anybody explain that to me where I understand it.
It was even better with the narration. I
And
was
I
listening
deal
to
with
my ear.
I deal with CAD all the time, and
Oh, do you?
yeah, because I do it for work and when I'm designing buildings, infrastructure for buildings, but that's for building objects, that's the best explanation I've heard yet.
Let me okay. Let me go. I'm trying to get back to this one. Let me share again. Why am I not
You're
full
up.
size now? Is it up?
Hmm.
For some reason, I'm not full. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna go through this and kind of explain the first black one here is this is um this is the multi-jet fusion part. This is what we sell for our coffee and ham radios antennas. So it's a powder process that goes through and it fuses it. So it's 100% infill. But the machines to do this are about 50 grand minimum. So here's a box I printed when I first got my bamboo. This is like one of the first things I printed. Has latches on the front, hinges in the back, and it swings open. So this was two pieces. And even the small printer that I was telling you about, the A1 Mini, will print this. You just do it in 2 times. And mine will actually print two colors or multiple colors, but I did it all separately. So these are from my mast. This goes on a piece of PVC, and then it goes inside a 10-meter mast like the DX Commander mast. And all it did was instead of using tape, it takes up the slack. Now these are little coil things I made to wrap wire around them. And on an infed halfway, if you put this about 40 inches from the beginning, it'll bring 10-meter down lower into the closer to the 500, 28,500 area. Now this is the big hole there is for a POTA 20, and this other one's for a carbon 6. And this is what I was selling for doing your own little dipoles. And the little holes are for stress relief. And if you look at it, it comes out the side right there. And the magnet actually magnetizes to the winder. And it has a B and C on the big hole there. And I'm doing this for like the little small mass so it doesn't weigh it down. This is for my Yaesu 150 I just got, the FTM 150. It's a 5 millimeter or 5 M5, which they call standard industry, but I think quarter 20 is. But anyhow, this is what they use. So I got this off of printables and printed it up. And then I have a second one. You'll see it later. Unfortunately, I didn't have it when I was filming this part of it. But for mounting the head on the dash, I use a um, an arm that clamps on both of them, and you can pretty much put it wherever you want. This is for a Poseidon, and this is one of the ones I drew up originally. So that fits a 10-meter mast, and it holds you about 25 feet 6 inches off the ground. The wire hooks to there because the Poseidon's a 25-foot vertical, multi-band vertical that you have to use a tuner with. So this holds it right where you need it. And when you get done with it, this will sit right inside your DX Commander mast, so it's always there. I did these for my camper shell. My camper shell, the sides set off to the edge; they're not flat across. So I put these angles on it. I will not use these to mount stuff there, but I'll use it for a template. Remember, I told you guys you can use the CAD system for doing templates, for making things really exact. So I'll do this out of some kind of aluminum probably eventually when I do it, if I do it. Ape and I are working on a doublet, and this is your hanger for the doublet. So you get your wires connect in the middle, and your wires go out the sides, and that's stress release. And then your twin lead goes down the side there. What I found out on this one, all those extra walls I put on there made it super, super strong. So this is a copy of our regular winder that I made for QRP. So it's a little smaller and lighter. You don't want to go too small because you still have to wind the same amount of wire. It's just smaller wire. Yeah, and it's just to put a logo on it, and nothing's super light. This is something we're getting ready to sell. This is a 130 toroid, so a 140 will fit on this also. So that's your 100-watt in-fed half wave. This is on the wrong toroid, but I'm playing with it to see how it works. And then I have multiple sizes. Like the less one is a 50, and then an 83, and I have one for a 114. And the 80 114, that's the size of it, right? In inches. Sorry, I got myself talking in my ear here, so. And I'm just showing here how it evolves. I started rounding them off to make them look a little nicer. And I have one model with a SO239. And here's my keys that I sold at Dayton. And the cool thing about it, you can do all these multicolors. I'm just showing here how the curve on this, so it fits in your hand real nice. Most people don't put the curve in.
And those keys are amazing for what they are.
Yeah, for a plastic key, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Now the magnets are there just to hold it on your radio, not really to hold it as you're using it. It's made to hold in your hand. Then I had a viewer ask me if I could make a single one. That's the turtle there. And just showing the different colors here. My buddy named this the turtle. So it's a single. This one got in my head a little bit because I wasn't thinking how it worked. I was trying to adjust it the wrong way. So this is what I was talking about, a living hinge. You guys know water bottles where the pop tops off and it stays and then you close it back up. That's a living hinge.
Yeah.
And that's what it uses for the going back and forth. Along with this key here, this coming up. So these keys were made, I forget the brand, but the guy was making them and then they quit making them and you couldn't get them anymore. And I looked at it and kind of drew up my own. It used a living hinge also, and that's how you adjust it right on the sides there. This one adjusts the distance of the screw to the ground, and the other one's just the paddle in and out. So it's a little different. This has become my favorite key. I'm not a big CW person. I'm not very good at it, but I love using this one. It's just the way it feels in your hand, and I can just kind of like play with it and it works. And what I'm showing here is when you pull this out like this and then push it back in, it gives a little bit more spring. I was a little leery of it to start with, how long it would last, but if you think about it, it only moves like a millimeter at the most. So it doesn't really move much. All 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 my keys have like, except that one blue one, have I do what's called a fuzzy skin, and you don't see any layer lines or anything, and it gives us just a little bit of grip to it. So this is a Mestastic antenna I designed up, and I got it from somebody else, but I redid it so it was easier. So I made a bracket for it that you can actually hook to a pole. So it has a U-bolt holes here when you see them right there, and that's like I think it's inch and a quarter or inch and a half, and then you can put a bolt through it too if you want to. I don't know if you guys are into Mestastic or not, but so this is kind of explaining. I have that one goes in the radio, this one goes to the dash, and I found both of them in printables, I think. And I've got about 8 walls in this thing just to make it strong. And I'll show you what I'm telling you about right here. That's pretty much it there, John, if you want. I'll get rid of that. I'll stop sharing. So here's what I was doing. This is what I was talking about. I didn't have this. So these you guys have seen these clamps, I'm sure, where these will move. So I can clamp this to a surface. Now I can pull it up like this, and then I can move this part too, both directions.
Yeah, it's like a
And it
mini
just
rig system.
yeah, it's what they call these.
Bullet mounting point's got the same system, and mini
Right.
rig has the same system. Basically, it's just a ball
So
and socket.
yeah, and it works really good. And I mean, you can buy those things too. I just what I was saying at the end of there is you for prototyping, if you don't want to spend $10 for one of those balls, you can just do one up. It may not be as strong, but at least you know it works, right? You can figure out what you need, and then you spend 50 cents on printing it out. So that is pretty much what I had. If you guys want to see, I have a couple other boxes. I designed this box up. I was playing with hinges, doing my own hinges. Found a guy that showed how to do that. And it has a latch on the front. And
That's cool.
and what I was doing that for was this stuff here.
Oh,
Something that would
that's
fit in
nice.
there. So if you want to protect it.
Yep.
It's just that I found boxes that will do my little ones
Hmm.
that I can buy cheap. And I mean, I don't have to print anything. So printing a box takes a bit of time. But see, in this one here, this is that little one that I showed you guys. So it has, so sorry, I wasn't in the camera. So it has the cord in there. It has the key in there. And then if you want to put magnets on it, it just snaps in there. And I have to say, sometimes I just get really lucky on designing stuff that fits. But this thing just goes in there, and now you can stick it to something. I don't know.
And now you know why I
I,
call him Mr. Wizard.
I just I wake up sometimes just thinking about how to do something, you know? I was surprised. I just made this thing just a hair smaller and it just fits in there. It doesn't come off until you want it off.
Yeah,
And then you just push that through. Now you're ready to go.
very cool.
So that's my spill. I totally believe in the using these things because it's just a great way to even if you don't use it, you can prototype stuff. When we were doing our antenna kits and stuff for Coffee and Ham radios, I have all these prints of, I'd print it up, I'd use it and say, no, we got to change this. And Ape's like, why do we got to change that? And I'm like, because it works better if we move the hole. So, and you're not spending a ton of money on it, right? So that's my spiel, guys. I don't even know what time it is.
It's 8:15.
quarter after.
So, yeah, anybody
I'm
have any
getting out.
questions? Just unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, you can bring everybody else up if you want. I can see it.
Yeah.
If you guys are intimidated by it, don't be, because you don't have to design anything. To me, Tinkercad is easy. I don't know why. It meshes with my brain for some reason. Oh, and I did this. You guys see this little, I forget the name of this radio, but it's that little one from India.
Ubitix.
So Ubitix, right? Or Zbitix. This is a Zbitix, isn't it?
Ubitix, yeah.
So this is a battery holder. So the batteries go in there like that, and this just clips over the top of it just to kind of protect it. And it's got your little stylus in there that came with the radio. And I got this. This is one of those things where I tell you, you find something. This guy had this one. I made it fit tighter. I rounded all the edges off, because if you look at this radio, everything's rounded off. So, and he did everything square. So I took it into Fusion 360 and I redrew the whole thing. Basically like his, but to my specs.
Yeah.
And it fit tighter. This thing's tight. It doesn't move at all when it's
A more
when it's clipped
elegant
on right.
iteration.
Yeah, and the white wasn't the best color. I needed some gray to match it, so it would match, but I didn't have any gray, so I use whatever I have.
Yep.
Oh, and
Chuck,
I did a little. These are little mini mics for my. You guys ever seen a KX? You guys know what a KX2 is? You ever seen the mic that comes with it? It's half the size of the radio, and I make these my little mini mics,
oh, that's
and
cool.
I've actually gotten better. A buddy of mine who could hear me one day at 10 watts is like, the one you made actually sounds better. So
Oh, that's cool.
He might have been nice.
Anybody have any questions?
Hope I didn't bore you guys too much.
No, it was awesome, Chuck. Really enjoyed
Thanks.
that. Just sitting there watching you do that Tinkercad to Fusion 360 was worth any time I would have spent trying to do that. So
I just started with CAD. I got a friend that was supposed to design this, and he actually came up with the curve thing. He goes, Chuck, I've been looking at a lot of keys. Nobody curves the sides, and that was his idea.
yeah, it's amazing.
And then he's got a young family and never any time to do it, so I just started doing it myself.
Well,
And I already had one. I just added the curves to the side of what I already had,
that's cool.
and then refined it from there. It took me I printed a bunch of these that
Yeah.
they're just went in the garbage. But
Does anybody have any questions?
easy
Yeah,
crowd, man.
That was very interesting.
Thank you, Walter.
Yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you, Chuck. I
Mhm.
appreciate you being here
Thank
and
you.
being part of the YCARS family for the evening. And
Yeah,
we'll look to have you
appreciate
back.
you
And
asking me.
no, man, I was thinking about who might do some good presentations, and I'll tell you what, when we were sitting there in Dayton, we were talking about 3D printing. I was like, I got to have you on for that. So
Yeah, it was. I had it all put together, and then I started reading. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't finish this. I was finishing everything this morning.
last minute Sally, like I am.
Well, I told you I had it ready before I left on my trip. And then I started reading. I'm like, no, I didn't finish this stuff. Damn it.
Yeah, I'm always last minute Sally and things.
Me too.
So
I was trying to be early for you guys, though.
Yeah.
At least I had most of it done.
yeah. Well, thank you again, Chuck. Appreciate you doing
Mhm.
this, and
No
we'll
problem.
look to have you back. And if YCARS can do anything for you, let us know. And
Okay.
guys, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this thing, and we'll go on and let Chuck get it back over to the Coffee and Ham Radios
Yeah, I got it back
live
over there
stream.
now.
So,
All right, guys. Thank you.
all right, guys,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Chuck.